Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be giving you a guided tour of the current iteration of the GeoCompass project prototype. So we'll go ahead and launch that here. So this is the GeoCompass project that we're currently working on. Its primary functionality is designed to help individuals measure the strike and dip of different geologic structures. Um, and I'll walk you through a couple of the basic functionalities of it. So as you can see, we have a compass here in front of you, as well as this compass control panel. This panel lets you control a number of different rotation and movement aspects to the compass so that you can move it around and get it positioned along the structures that you would like to measure and then gain those measurements. As you can see, the dials rotate the compass. These sliders move the compass along the X, Y, and Z axes. And as you can see, little arrows will appear to show you which axis is currently being manipulated. There's two different rotation types, as is exemplified down here. Whenever the green light is selected on world, it will let you rotate the compass around the world X, Y, and Z axis, versus if you hit the toggle rotation button so that the light shows up above local, then the compass will rotate around its local X, Y, or Z axes. This lets you have a little bit more control over how and where you position the compass while trying to take measurements. Once you're done rotating it or moving it and have got the measurements you're looking for, you can then press the reset buttons here that will reset the compass's rotation and its position, bringing it right back to home. You can also navigate the environment by right-clicking on the mouse button, the right mouse button, and dragging up and down to change the view. Or if you want to physically move around the environment, just use the arrow keys to turn or move. This lets you approach whatever structure you would like to measure and then position the compass from there. So I'll give you a little demo of that. Move the compass forward here and rotate it a little bit. Whenever you have it positioned in a way so that you can get the measurement you'd like, you can go ahead and use the data buttons up here to save the strike. And we'll go ahead and rotate it to try and get the dip here. Go ahead and save the dip. Once you have both of those objects saved, the stats or the data will be shown up here on the data node window. And if you'd like to see the actual vectors of those particular pieces of data, you can go ahead and hit the Draw Data button, which will place a vector over the strike and the dip. I didn't measure it as precisely as you can, but this shows you the idea. Once you want those vectors cleared, simply hit the Clear Draw Vector button, and it will take those out for you. If you would like to remeasure something while the current node is selected, you can go ahead and re-hit the Save Dip or Save Strike buttons as many times as you like. Once you would like to move on to another measurement, you can click the New Node button, and that will allow you to then save data into an additional node. A little later on, we'll add more functionality that will let you jump back and forth between these nodes and manipulate the data a little bit more in depth. But as this is a prototype, these just show the functionality that's there at the moment. The final button I have not already covered on this control panel is the toggle hold location, which allows you to leave the compass in the location that you currently have it while you physically move around, allowing you to get a viewpoint on the measurement you're currently trying to take from a couple of different vantage points. So I'll go ahead and position this here real quick to give you guys an example of that. So if I wanted it to stay there so that I could get a better view, you can go ahead and hit the toggle hold button. And as you can see, the compass is no longer moving with you. You can still rotate and orient it. It just is no longer stuck to the camera while you do that. And then once you're done and you're ready for it to return to following where you go, hit the toggle hold location button a second time, and it'll come back to following the camera. Other than that, as you can see, we also have some display objects here. This one, the compass, is just a heads-up display version of the compass that mirrors the compass's actual orientation. And this compass continues to always point north within the game environment, no matter which way you flip or turn or move it. If you feel as though the data node window or the compass heads-up display are in your way, you can simply toggle those off by clicking the toggle compass button or toggle data button. And if you'd like them to return, you can hit them a second time. The next buttons that I'll show you, say you wander around this environment and you get lost and you can't remember where you started from, you can hit the return to start button. It'll pop you right back to the beginning of the scene. I've also built in a tour guide here so that if you'd like to set up different specific locations to exemplify to other users of this program, you can station specific stops around the level and give it little bits of data. I've gone through and placed a couple here, so we'll preview those. At the moment, we're at the starting location, so as you see, the data says tour stop number 0, and it's the starting location. Whenever you're ready to move to the next stop, simply click the next stop button, and it'll port you over to the second or the next stop on our tour. There's a number of these different spots, and you could edit and add to this information to display whatever you'd like the user to see. If you say you move too quickly and you skip one of the stops you'd like to go to, instead of running around the level looking for it or having to cycle back through all of the stops, you can simply hit the previous stop button and it'll bring you back to whichever one you were previously at. As you can see, I've added a couple of 3D models to this environment. These are actual renditions of real-world locations scanned in, I believe, using photogrammetry. And most of these I found as open source assets on Sketchfab, though we will be putting together a credits page to credit anybody who actually created these models that we're currently using. Tried to get a nice selection of a number of different styles of location and formations, just for examples. So another thing I'll highlight here is if you would like to really highlight any specific aspects of any of these formations, I added little notation or annotation nodes. You can have the front of this button say, a number or a letter, whatever format you'd like. But whenever your user clicks on it, it will bring up a text box window where you can add more annotation or notes, more information about whatever element you'd like to have featured. There are also arrows that you can place around the formation to point out whatever elements correspond to that annotation note, really, drawing the user into seeing the exact features that you're trying to highlight. Once you're done with that, you can either hit the close note button or you can hit the annotation node a second time, and that will close those and get them out of your way. Another feature to the tour, if you wander off and get lost and you don't want to return to start and cycle through all the stops again, you'd like to just jump back to whichever stop you had been on before you started wandering around, you can hit the return to current button, and that'll take you back to whichever stop you were at last. I think there's a couple more stops on here that I can cycle us through. And once again, all of these are 3D models, so you can move in and around and get all sorts of different measurements. Other than those basic features, there's also a small menu, which I actually need to update to reflect some of the new controls, but it will have some of the initial basic controls listed on it and a little description of what they do. This will be updated in our next iteration. I think that about covers most of the functionality in this project. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll get more updates soon.